is week 6 of the college football season. We got 6 picks inbound. We got 4 spreads we love, 1 total, and 1 player prop at the end of the video. My name's Austin. Welcome to the Call on Our Shot channel. We're joined by Logan as always. Let's do a recap of how we did last week. It was an all right week for us. We went 3-3, 500. Whatever. Not much we could do there. I went 2-1. Logan went 1-2. Hopefully we have a much better week this week. Hopefully we get back to that 6-0, day we had a couple weeks back. And I'm confident we can get there. We have a lot of great picks inbound. If you are new, like I said, my name's Austin. Do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Drop a like too. We appreciate all the love and support you guys have been showing on the videos. If you want to comment your favorite picks down below, definitely go for it. Before we dive into our picks, though, I want to talk about Bet365. They have 2 great offers. You can choose whichever one you want. You can get $150 in bonus bets or a first bet safety up to $1,000. You just go sign up top, link in description. You choose your offer, and boom, you get those bonuses. It's available in New Jersey, Ohio, Virginia, Kentucky, Colorado, and Iowa. We love Bet365. They have the great odds, especially for NFL. If you're looking into player props there, so it's available in your state. Definitely take advantage of those offers. But let's dive into our favorite picks. I'm going to go to the biggest game on the slate, the Red River rivalry. That's going to be my first pick. A lot of people are going to hate this one because I'm going with the Oklahoma Sooners plus 6.5, minus 110 on Bet365. I expect a lot of people to be on Texas in this one. I expect a lot of people in the comments to probably be on Texas, and I understand why. Texas, obviously, number 3 ranked team. A lot of people have high hopes for them this season, but I think in the Red River rivalry, I think this is a close game. I think this is a field goal game, and I'd rather take the underdog plus 6.5. It is obviously a neutral site game, so neither team really has the home field advantage, and this is going to be a big game. These 2 teams hate each other, so I imagine Texas fans are pissed at me. Oklahoma fans are happy maybe that I'm on their team, but let's talk about both these 2 teams. They enter 5-0. Now, it's hard to really nitpick their strengths and weaknesses. You don't get the 5-0 baby and just bad, but Texas, you look at them cruise to a 5-0 record. They've really only had one minor hiccup, and that was in week 2 in Alabama. They got that done. That was against the road Alabama team, so Alabama was at home in that one. A big win for them. Doesn't, Alabama was kind of struggling, still is kind of struggling figuring out their QB and their offense, but either way, so impressive win. You look at Oklahoma on the other side. They've played some decent competition, nothing too crazy. Like I said, they're both 5-0. Hasn't faced a ton of competition. However, I think this is gonna be a tough test for the Texas defense, who's really hasn't seen a good QB this year. Like I said, Alabama, they saw their QBs, but that was really nothing. That was their second week of the season. And then they saw Wyoming, then Baylor, and then Kansas didn't even get their star quarterback last week, Jalen Daniels. They had to see Jason Bean, who's just not good. This week they got their hands full with Dylan Gabriel, who is in the Heisman contest, and if he wins this game, there's a good chance that he jumps nearly up to the top 3 probably in Heisman voting. And you look at Dylan Gabriel, has been really good for him. Over 1,500 yards, 15 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Texas is going to have their hands full with him. And we saw last year, these 2 teams obviously play every single year. Red River rivalry, 49-0. Texas smoked them. I imagine Oklahoma remembered that just terrible loss to your arch rivals. Now Gabriel was out of that game. Oklahoma had to start a guy that honestly didn't belong behind the playing QB. He stunk. But since arriving at Oklahoma, we've seen Dylan Gabriel keep this team in spots. Even though not having the greatest year last year, he kept them in a lot of games. And you look at in his 17 games, they're at 12-5. In those losses, you've seen them lose by 3-3, and 7 and 31 points. I'm not really going to count the 31 because he got injured in the second quarter in that game, and then they kind of got blown out by TCU. But he's kept them in these games, and I think he keeps them in this one. And honestly, I think they have a chance at winning this one outright. Oklahoma has a decent defense as well, very underrated defense. Texas is a good defense too. I think this is a game where we see them trading, touchdown for touchdown, maybe a field goal here and there, and I think the 6.5 covers. I think this is a close game. I'm going to ride with my ex-UCF Knight, Dylan Gabriel, transferred a couple years back. I'm going to ride with him and the Sooners, plus 6.5. Give me that underdog. I think they have a chance of winning outright. I don't think they lose by more than a touchdown. I think they maybe lose by 3 or 4. I'm riding with the Oklahoma Sooners, plus 6.5. But Logan, what's your first pick of the weekend?
I do love your first pick, and honestly, I might be bold enough to go horns down. I kind of do like Oklahoma outright. First sprinkle on the money line. Just got to put that out there. I love your first pick, Austin. But I'm taking Army minus 2.5 as my first pick. Minus 120 odds on FanDuel, currently your best value there. Now, I am taking the Service Academy. I'm laying the 2.5 or 3 points on some books. Do like the 2.5 because it doesn't push. But we know what Army's strength is. They like to run the ball. Boston College, not the best at stopping the run. Boston College is allowing opponents an average of 4.3 yards per carry and 163 rushing yards per game on the season. Boston College's defense has not been that great up front. They rank 114th in the country in team defense, and they're allowing 33.2 points per game. So what are they really doing well? What gives me any inclination that they can stop Army's offense? I don't really have any. Army coming off a bye week, they should be well rested and eager to do what they do best, and that's run the ball. They're averaging 208 yards per game on the ground. And if you look at Boston College, they struggled against NIU and Holy Cross, teams that wanted to pound the rock and control the clock. And Boston College struggled really to defend that. Army can definitely run the ball and get those chunk yardage that way. If you look at Army's defense, they're only giving up 18.75 points per game, allowing only under 20 points per game is really big. And Boston College enters this game a little banged up. Star wide receiver and UCF grad transfer Ryan O'Keefe is out after suffering a bad injury last week. He was carted off the field. So that's a weapon that Tommy Castellanos will not have. He's one of those young players that definitely makes his fair share of mistakes. He threw 2 interceptions, and they kind of ask him a lot to use his legs on the ground. I just really don't see it. I think Army will have a plan of attack to stop Castellanos and can keep him in the pocket contained. We look at Army's defense. They definitely know how to get off the field. They're second in college football in terms of plays, and they're so once again they know how to get the stops. And they also lead the nation in 4th down conversions, which is interesting because if it's 4th and 1, 4th or 2, I want a team that's physical enough and wants to, just run the ball and play that style of football. That is Army for sure. Army also, what oftentimes decides a lot of college football games is penalties. Army usually doesn't beat themselves. They're physical and they're smart. They have the least amount of penalties in college football this year. So that's what we like to see. In a close game, they're not going to beat themselves. I think they do pull away from Boston College in this one. Wears down Boston College just 4 or 5 yards per carry. That's how they're going to get it done. I do like Army to win and cover as my first pick. But Austin, where are you going for your second pick?
Yeah, I'm going to go to a late night game with the latest one, a 10 p.m. start. So you got plenty of time if maybe you're watching this one after, the 12 p.m. is kicked off. You have plenty of time to get this one in. Hopefully we are 2-0 since Logan's pick was at 12 p.m. So was mine. But I'm going to the Cal Golden Bears, taking them plus 9.5 as they're at home facing the Oregon State Beavers. I think this is a good spot to back Cal. I think this is a terrible spot if you're back in Oregon State. And honestly, I could see Oregon State dropping this game. This just feels like a game where we see these Pac-12 teams beat up on each other. And I could see Cal coming out here and playing a little bit of spoiler here to the Oregon State, Beavers, who have had a good start to their season. But after 2 ranked matchups for Oregon State, they come into here against Cal. Maybe we see them take the foot off the gas pedal, and we could see them maybe trip up to the Golden Bears before they return back home to take on UCLA. But let's talk about Justin Wilcox, the Cal's head coach. He's historically, if you're looking for a guy to back as an underdog, this is a good one because he's been really good. 10-1 against the spread as an underdog of 4 or more points at home. He's 21-7 against the spread as an underdog in general, home or road or neutral site when he's a 4 or more point underdog. And that's where he finds himself on Saturday. And I think he's going to get this defense ready to go. And I think that's what's going to be the difference maker here. Cal's defense, pretty solid, top 10 in EPA per rush. They're really good at stopping the run, and that is something that I really think Oregon State wants to do. If you've seen them play this year, they want to establish the run. They do not need DJU, and I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name, to try to throw the ball, stand in the pocket, throw the ball. Now, what I want as a Cal backer is make him throw the football, make him stretch the field, make him not just do the 5-yard throws, make him throw it into some tight coverages, and I think he might make a mistake or two, and that could be the difference here. If you can get them into 2nd and long, 3rd and long, I think that's going to be played right into the Cal Golden Bears defensive hands, and I think they can do that. And we've seen Oregon State, they haven't been putting a lot of close games. We've seen the only close game they've really been put in was against Washington State. They lost that one outright. And we saw last week, sure, they beat the brakes off Utah. They didn't even have Cam Rising, their star quarterback, Utah that is. So at the end of the day, I think Cal's got a chance here. Their offense could see the return of their quarterback, Ben Finley, who's been out for a couple weeks. And I think while that could help them, I don't necessarily think they need him. I don't think he's a big upgrade over what they've been trotting out there. But at the end of the day, I think this game is a low-scoring one that's, tough, grinded out possessions, some field goals instead of touchdowns. And then a low-scoring game, I'd rather back the home team, the team that's getting home, nearly 10 points. Plus 9.5, I think is a great spot to back Cal. I'm going to take the Golden Bears, plus 9.5, 10 p.m. winner. Hopefully they get it done. Logan, what's your second pick of the weekend going to be?
Yeah, I'm going out to California as well for mine. I'm taking UCLA -3, -115 odds on BetMGM, currently your best value. Now we got a Pac-12 showdown. You got Washington State ranked 13th. They're undefeated, 4-0 on the year, but they find themselves as dogs on the road at UCLA in the Rose Bowl. Kind of interesting spread on there, right? Makes you want to take Washington State with the points, right? They're the ranked team. They're obviously better, right? Not really. The Pac-12, what we know historically is they beat up on themselves. This matchup, I don't think is going to be any different. Year after year, the best teams in the Pac-12 always hunt each other, and I think that's what UCLA is going to do in here. And I really like the Bruins defense this year. You think of Chip Kelly, you think of UCLA, you don't really think about defense. I'm telling you right now, UCLA's defense is for real. They're only allowing 10 points per game. The pass rush is fantastic. The unit as a whole plays really physical. They held up great against Utah last week, especially Utah's running game. They allowed just 2 yards per carry last week. They're really good at getting turnovers. I think they're definitely going to have a game plan for Washington State this year. Look at UCLA as well. They're only giving up 77.8 yards per game, which is number 10 in the country. And against the pass, they're only giving up 186 yards passing per game, number 25 in the country. So this is a top 25 offense against the rush and the pass. And they face a Washington State offense that is pretty, to me, one-dimensional. We know what Cameron Ward wants to do. They want to stretch the field. They just want to go air raid. That's why they're number 2 in the nation, with over 400 yards per game through the air. But UCLA's defense, and especially their pass rush, second best in the nation graded as far as pass rush by Pro Football Focus. And they should make life very difficult on Cameron Ward. And if they can make Washington State one-dimensional, which I think we've already kind of seen that, Washington State 89th in the FBS in terms of rushing yards per game. So really, they're not all that balanced. If they can pin their ears back and get after Ward in this game, I think they're gonna make life very difficult for him. And as far as Washington State's defense, 111th in passing yards allowed, 83rd in yards per play allowed. That sets up pretty well for UCLA's offense, led by Dante Moore. Hopefully they can get those quick strike, explosive plays against Washington State. UCLA, they have been getting that this year. They're 3rd in yards per play. We know Chip Kelly's an offensive mastermind. I think UCLA runs away in this one. In a series that has been, historically pretty close, the last 5 matchups decided by 1 score or less, I definitely think the Bruins with the better offense, not better offense, but an equal offense that can go blow for blow, but the much better defense. I think defense is what wins this game, and I'm taking UCLA with the points. But Austin, you got to play a prop for your 3rd pick. Where are you going?
Yeah, it's time for the weekly player prop. I'm going to try to do one every single week, something I find value in, and this one's going to be a great one. We are 3-0 on college football props. These are for my people out there that might be on the daily fantasy apps, like, the PrizePicks, Sleeper, Underdog Fantasy. This is for you guys. Now, certain states do allow player props, so check it if maybe you are in a state that gives it for those sports betting legal places. But let's talk about this one that I don't expect a lot of people to like, and I probably didn't like my first 2 picks, so we might as well wrap up the card. 3 picks that people hate. That's normally a successful card. And going Brock Bowers, the University of Georgia tight end, under 76.5 receiving yards, minus 114 on FanDuel. Personally play this to right around 71.5. Would not go any lower than that. This is my favorite prop of the weekend, and you're going to understand why in a second, but I know it's going to be scary to fade this guy, because if you've ever watched the University of Georgia play, you'd know this guy's really, really good. He's going to be a first-round pick in this upcoming draft for the NFL in April. But I'm going to fade him here, and this is going to be our first under the season as we try to go to 4-0 on college football props. And I'm not going to come out here and say Brock Bowers is trash. No, this guy is legit, one of the best players in college football, one of the most complete players. But I think Kentucky's going to have their matchups ready for him, and I don't think this is a good one for him. We've seen Bowers this season. Here's his game logs. He's at 78 in week 1, then 3, 54, 121, and 157 yards. He has smashed the over the last 2 games. The 121 came against UAB. Throw that out to water. I mean, that was UAB. That team stinks. Last week was against Auburn. He cooked them. Auburn had a great defensive strategy for him. They just said, hey, we're just going to leave him open. Yeah, that didn't work. Now, Bowers made some legit plays. Don't go watch his highlights in that game before you bet the under, because they're going to be like, why am I fading this guy? But I think this is a good spot for him, because I think Kentucky's going to have their game plan for him. They're going to say, you know what? We've seen you before, Bowers. We know what you're capable of. We've seen the tape. We're going to try our best to stop him. And I think Mark Stoops, a very good defensive-minded head coach, will have their defense ready to go to stop him. They got guys in especially their cornerbacks, that are not afraid of tackling. Bowers is the guy that can run over people, has done it plenty of times. But their corners are not afraid of tackling. They get some big linebackers that are not afraid of tackling him either. So if you can get Bowers, maybe gets those short, screen plays, you can tackle him, you have your good chances to stop him. And we saw last year, these 2 teams played. You saw Bowers, 2 receptions, 10 yards in that game. They still won by 10, the Bulldogs, that is. They had a good job stopping him, and I think they're going to do it once again here today. I think they're going to sell out to stop Brock Bowers, maybe try to limit that run game and try to stop the other guys. But Bowers needs to be that number 1 guy. He's the number 1 guy for this passing attack. They got to stop him. We've seen Kentucky kind of do that same thing, try to stop your number 1 attack. Last week against the Gators, they smoked them, didn't really worry about defense majority of that game. But you saw their number 1 receiver, Ricky Pearsall, only 62 yards. Week before that against Vandy, their leading receiver only had 48. So obviously it's Brock Bowers. He's better than, what Georgia and what Florida and what Vandy has to offer. But I still do think Stoops is already on the record of saying this guy's really good. We got to find our way of stopping him. I think they're going to do just that. Georgia also favored by 2 touchdowns. We could see them maybe not passing it in the fourth quarter. Either way, I don't see Kentucky having a lot of success just scoring points in general. So maybe we see some short fields for the Bulldogs. And I just think that doesn't can lead to a lot of yards for Brock Bowers. So our first under of the year, we'll see how it goes. Maybe we'll do some more unders, but I think that's a good spot to fade Brock Bowers. He's really good. He could have a good game, 70 yards, 2 touchdowns. I don't care. Stay under 76.5. Give us a winner, a 3-0 card. But Logan, what's your third and final pick of the weekend going to be?
Yeah, I to balance out your under, which a lot of people aren't going to like, I have to pick an over. And I'm going to Notre Dame and Louisville. I'm taking the over 53.5 total points, minus 110 odds on FanDuel, currently your best value. Now, after low-scoring games between these, with these two teams, we see an unusually high total. I think if you're looking at the card and you're just like, Logan, that total seems kind of high for what we've seen recently. We saw Notre Dame, in a final score 21-14. Hartman only had 222 yards passing. So you're like, why is that number set high? I think it's high for a reason. I think this one sort of sets up to be a shootout. You got Notre Dame's offense averaging 36.5 points per game. That's 34th in the country. This is definitely an upper tier offense. Strong offensive line, explosive running game. There definitely should be a lot of opportunities and some good rushing attack led by Audric Estime, one of the best backs in college football. As a unit, their backfield averages 192.2 yards on the ground. They're going to make life very difficult for Louisville's defense and sort of make, I think, Louisville's defense creep up a little bit to stop Audric Estime. That just sets up, really well for Sam Hartman to get those explosive plays down the field. Now, let's talk about Louisville's offense. Quarterback Plummer, he actually leads the conference in yards per completion. And this Louisville Cardinals offense, they have an average of 494.8 yards per game, which has them ranked 11th in the country. So they know how to move the ball up and down the field, which is going to be a challenge because Notre Dame's defense is pretty stout. But they definitely know they can definitely take pressure off of Plummer, and they themselves can run the ball as well. Cardinals backfield at putting up 193.8 rushing yards per game, led by the talented Jawar Jordan. He'll definitely be getting a bulk of the carries. And I think they're going to keep Notre Dame honest, and I think they're going to be able to move the ball up and down the field and get those scores. Louisville's offense currently ranked 22nd in college football with 37 points per game. So you actually look at these two teams on paper, just because they haven't been involved in 35 to 40 type shootouts, they are both very capable of scoring themselves. I think we see Sam Hartman remind the country of why he is one of the best quarterbacks in the nation, and Louisville definitely will be playing. They will leave no offensive play in the playbook. They will be unloading it all against Notre Dame because this game would mean a lot for the Louisville program. I think we see a good old-fashioned shootout. My final score prediction is like 35-31. I think this one does get well up and over the total. I think it's set high, but it's high for a reason, and I really do like that as my third and final pick.
And that's a 6-0 card, hopefully. Let's absolutely dominate on Saturday. As always, let us know your favorite picks down below. We'll have a couple of other NFL videos, so they'll already be posted by the time some of these games are rolling around. So if you want to go show them some love, definitely go do that too. We have a ton of action on Sunday. But let us know your favorite picks down below. Austin and Logan signing out. Hopefully we are back next week with some 6-0 brooms. We'll see you guys back again next week. We love these videos. We'll see you next week. Peace.